All right, so everybody, welcome. So we're going to get started right quick. We got a great interview with the man down under, and we're not talking about Australia. We're talking about Mexico, our neighbor to the south, the man, the myth, the legend from Mexico, Armando. So we're going to have a great interview. Armando is going to drop some bombs, some golden nuggets for us today. So I'm glad that all of you are on here. Now, if you're brand new to our Facebook group and you are wondering who the heck is this guy that's coming up all the time on my feed, my name is Jeremy Miner. I'm traveling right now. We have a second home out here in Scottsdale, Arizona. We came out to here for the whole month. We're going back to the winter tundra of Missouri tomorrow. It's a nice 27 degrees from what I understand tomorrow when we roll into town. So if you're brand new, I am the founder and chairman of Seventh Level. And we're a company, an organization that helps sales professionals like you. We help coaches, we help sales managers, executives, entrepreneurs, and we help you by transforming the way you sell by learning sales skills that work with human behavior. That's the key, rather than work against it. We're going to show you how to how to get your prospects to pull you in rather than you try to push them, because we know what happens when you push people. They do what? They push back. These are called neuro-emotional persuasion questions. We teach you the right tonality that puts your prospects at ease, eliminates sales pressure, and get your prospects to persuade themselves. Now, during this interview today and these nuggets that Armando is going to give you guys, because he is tearing it up with what he sells, if you want to know more details about how we can help you sell a lot more of your products and services, like we already have with thousands of our clients and students across the globe in the first 2 years, in the comment section, just post hashtag NEPQ. So in the comment section, post hashtag NEPQ. Either myself or someone on my team will message you more details on training programs to see if we can help you as well. Armando, how you doing down there?
Hey, I'm doing great, Jeremy. What about you?
You're doing good?
Yeah, really good.
Hey, man. So I've been looking around. I'm like, okay, we've got clients all over the place. Most of our clients are in the United States, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom. We've got a bunch in Europe. And I'm like, who do we have? Like, we don't train any company in Mexico. We don't train any companies yet in Mexico or certain parts of Latin America. But like, I know we have some clients that have taken the training. Who do we got? And I looked you up, and I'm like, man, I have not talked to this guy for a couple of years when he first started. So I think we met about 3 years ago. I was training. It was when I first started Seventh Level, and I was training the company that you were selling for. It was like an e-commerce company. You were selling like e-commerce products, and you started to sell there. Now, I don't think that was your first job. So take us back. Just so you guys, I want to give a preference. Like Armando's a stud, makes around $25,000, $30,000 a month in commissions. And in Mexico, well, that's a lot of money, I think. I'm not sure. He probably has like 7 mansions and, just 6 Lambos and just everything down there with your currency. So take us back to when you first got into sales. Like, what was your first sales job? What was going on?
Okay, well, thanks to invite me to this live streaming. It's amazing, guys, to share you my experience. So my first experience with sales was in real estate. I was a kid in college with no money, with like $10 a week, something like that. Just barely making events. So they invited me to sell in real estate. And I love it. I love to build rapport with customers, to ask them key questions, to find them a good home. But it wasn't my thing, But that was my first taste of sales.
So you got into sales, but like, who was teaching you how to do sales? Like when you were selling real estate, like what type of sales training were you going through, or were you just kind of like trying to figure it out?
To be honest, I studied marketing in college. I take a class about selling, but that's what my only background. I was just out there trying to figure out, like maybe most of you guys
in college. About selling. So it was probably like the definition of selling is X and Y and Z. So not really any like selling skills. Okay. So you started talking about the product, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And what was going on? Like, what was some of your struggles, your emotions at that time?
I figure out that it didn't work out what they give it to you in college, right? So I start
Yeah.
looking for more trainers out there. I start reading books, but then I found you, when I start working in that company, and you give me like the real view of how to communicate effectively,
Yeah.
build rapport, and also don't be that pushy, because everybody is got go for the sale, pretend to sell. That doesn't work anymore. It's not working a few years ago, and I don't believe that it's working anymore right now.
It's even worse now. Yeah. So I started training the company that you were selling for. They were selling like e-commerce products, a big e-commerce company. You started doing really, what was it like? Like once you started to go through the training, what did you notice that your prospects were doing with you? Like how are they reacting to you compared to before you started learning NEPQ?
Well, they were like defensive mode before
Okay.
taking the training. They always was defensive. It was almost like fighting for the sale. You make a sale here and there, but it wasn't that good. It wasn't smooth like right now.
Okay, when you say defensive, describe some examples. Like what would they say? What would they do? How are they defensive?
It was like I don't know. You sound like a salesman. I mean, you only live here for the commission, right? So those kind of things that yes, we're for the.
So you actually had people say that, like, "Hey, you're only here to make a commission."
Yeah, it happened to me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you start getting involved in an EPQ, and what was going on in your like? How are your prospects reacting? So you started to learn an EPQ. You didn't like triple your income in the first month or anything.
Yeah.
But what started happening?
To be honest, I start building an amazing rapport. People start loving me. I mean, and it's not because my sexy accent, but I mean, people start loving me more, building rapport more. People open more their problems, their struggles, how I can help them. So it really makes sense. All the key questions that I found out on the training that really made the sales smooth. I mean, I don't even was trying to do a hard closing, anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk about the language barrier, right? So you live in Mexico. Were you born in Mexico?
Yeah, I born in Mexico. Yeah, 100% Mexico.
What city do you live in?
Guadalajara, Mexico.
It's a pretty big city down there, isn't it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, pretty big.
So, but you're primarily selling to people who speak English, though, right?
Yeah, it's funny, right? I don't know how I start selling in the English market. I got an opening. I see like, hey, we need salesmen. I say, I'm going to give it a try. My English was terrible, but I mean, maybe my enthusiasm was good.
So there's a language barrier. So a lot of people, when I posted last night, like, hey, I'm thinking about taking one of our students live who lives in Mexico, speaks some English, and people are like, well, how does he sell to English speaking people because English is not really good? So how do you do that? Like, how do you primarily, you're Spanish speaking? It'd be like me, like I'm an English speaker, right? So like, oh, well, you need to start selling to people over in Germany that just speak German. Like I would be like freaked out. I'm like, how am I gonna learn these questions? Like it's like a double layer. So how did you do that? A lot of people ask me that.
Well, first of all, I was terrified. And then when I went to the training, I don't remember what model said that let the customer speak more, So I was all about just asking questions, let them flow in the call. And it was my sales more easy and effective to communicate, asking the proper questions. So they speak more than me, So that was my turning point where I learned to not to speak a lot, when you are starting in sales. You don't have to speak a lot. You don't have to go to all the technical aspects of our products. To know them, right? To know everything, but you don't have to speak a lot. You just have to do key questions.
Yeah, because you sell like Amazon right now. You sell Amazon. You sell for a company that sells like Amazon training so that people start like an SBA Amazon business, right? But we train companies that do that as well. So there's a lot of technical stuff that a lot of salespeople that sell that talk about this, and they talk about you have to learn this and this and this, and sometimes it just over people's head. But what you're suggesting is, hey, you're asking the right questions, which you've learned from NEPQ 2.0 and 3.0. You've been one of our advanced client students. So you learned how to ask these questions. You let them do most of the talking because of especially the language barrier. And then your prospects at the end, what are they saying to you?
I mean, to be honest, it's amazing. Still till nowadays, they're really happy to talking to me. They told me, hey, I feel like you really care about us. You answer all my questions. I was really open to talk to you. I love the way that you structure this conversation, that you care about my needs, what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And those things are, for me, my main key point is building a good rapport. Okay.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to care about these people, you have to care about every client that you talk, and you have to care about them genuinely, you have to be empathic. So that's important, and also that I learned.
Well, it's true. We talk about it in the training. Today's consumer doesn't want to be talked at and sold to.
Yeah.
They want to be asked, and they want to be listened to, and more importantly, they want to be understood. So when your prospects are saying, I really appreciate the conversation and the way you structured that, and you really feel like you're there for me, well, do you think they're going to move forward and buy compared to them feeling like you're just there to try to make a commission?
Yeah, of course they move, so that's
Yeah, it's a completely different ballgame. Now, does that mean you're just going to be passive and be like, well, okay, get back to me, John, if you want to do it? No. For you to be able to make $30,000 a month in commissions, you're closing a lot of the people you're talking to. So what's a good commitment question? I'm going to put you on the spot. What's a good commitment question that you ask at the end of that conversation that really kind of gets them to close themselves and want to move forward?
This is an example. I always ask this question like, hey, John, is this something that is going to take you to the next level in your life? Is this something that is going to make a change in your life? Do you feel positive of doing this? Do you are going to feel the difference between not doing this and doing this? What will change? Those questions for me are key points, and those are the one that I ask the most.
Yeah, so it's a good commitment question. Like, do you feel like this is something that can get you where you're wanting to go in your life? Yeah. And when they say, yeah, I do, because most people at that point are going to say, yeah, I do, because you've taken them through the right structure. They've told you what their problems are. They've told you the root cause of the problem. They've told you how the problem's affecting them. So they're very emotional at that point. They've only told you those things because your question allowed them to feel like they wanted to open up to you, right? Because not everybody's going to just answer random questions if you don't know the right ones to ask and how to bridge in and make it natural, okay? And so because they're open up to you, they're curious, they want to engage, they tell you these things. So by the end, when you say, do you feel like this could be the answer for you, John? Oh, for sure. Well, hold on. Why do you feel like it would, though? That's that probe. That's that NEPQ probing question where they're like, well, I feel like it's for me because of this, this, and this. And instead of them, you telling them that it's the answer, who's telling who it's the answer? What else has been in your experience? I'm going to quiz you here. So if a prospect says, we don't have the money, what's typically your first question you're asking them?
It's a funny question, but what do you mean by that?
Why do you ask them that?
What do you mean by that? And they tell me, well, I don't have the money, but I say, explain me more in detail, so in that way I can help you. So what do you mean that you don't have the money? You mentioned to me that you had a job, that you have these resources. Let's be creative and let's find the best way possible so you can get started, right? Because you are here because of change, correct? Yes. So let's go again over and we discuss why they speak. You have to be always listening what they do for a living, what kind of resources that they have. Of course, in this point of the call, I already know those questions like, hey,
sure,
like how's your credit score? I mean, we talk about an investment and an expense, and when I talk about investment, I tell her, hey, you're investing in a skill that at some point is going to let you to learn a skill that can help you to generate an extra income online, so
yeah. One thing that you did really good there is when they said, we don't have the monies, you asked a clarifying question. Hold on. When you say you don't have the money, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Because maybe that just means like, we don't have the money until tomorrow, or we have to sell some stocks and we'll have it in 3 days. You don't know what that means unless you ask. Okay. And then typically, like we've kind of taught you in the NEPQ 3.0 course, when they say that, you want to come back and say, okay, so tell me, if you did have the funding, is this something that would work for you? And they're always going to say, well, yeah, I do. I just don't have the money. Well, hold on. Why do you feel like it would, though? Well, I like it because of this and that and this. And then your next question is, oh, I can appreciate that money might be an issue from what you told me. I guess, how do you think you can resolve that where you can find the funding to put into the business so that you can start making more money for your family? Because you sell Amazon coaching, right? So that's more industry specific. So I'm including, how are they going to overcome that to find the funding to put into the business so that they can, and I repeat back what they said they wanted. Yeah. Now I'm attaching the money to get them what they want. If they can get the money, they get what they want. If they can't get the funding, they don't get what they want, right? And that makes the money seem very cheap compared to getting them to their future state of what they said they have to have. You see what I mean? Now, if they still can't come back with ways, well, okay, but what other avenues do you have to find the funding so you can get into the business so that you can, and I repeat back the second thing they said they want. Usually by that time, they're like, well, I could get it from my 401k. I could sell a car. I could, borrow it from my friend Joe. I could get it from my IRA. I could put it on a credit card. And if they still can't come up with ways, it's just simply this. Can I make a suggestion? Here's typically what our other clients do, if this would help you. And they do X and Y and Z. And I give them like 5, 6 different options. And then at the end of that, I say, would that help you? And every time, oh my gosh, I could do this, I could do that. If they still can't get the funding after all that, there's probably nothing I can do for them.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's always about to be creative. You have to have a good conversation with your customer. At this point, you have rapport. So you can talk open like, hey, I recommend you to do this. Previous students have done this. What you have, what you can do, what kind of resources that you have. You have a credit card. Can you partner with somebody? So you start making a list. And in that way, at some point, you are going to see if they really have the funds or they don't have the funds. But it's always to be creative with them, You have to understand this. Most of the times, people have the money, and they're not going to tell you upfront, but you have to be figuring out with key questions what you can do. Have this idea. What are your thoughts on this? What is going to happen if you are not going to do this? How you're going to feel if in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, nothing changed? How you're going to feel about that? So let's find a solution for you. So those are the key questions that I do.
Exactly. And let me ask you this, like when you first got involved in NEPQ 2.0 and 3.0 and all of our training, what were some things you did? And this is for our listeners out there that are in our sales training programs. What were some things you did in that first 30 days to really get the material down, really start to soak it up, really start to learn those questions that we teach you in our sales training course? What were some things you did?
Well, first of all, I had a paper. I have it here, something like this, where I wrote the key questions that I found, how to communicate effective, and I put a sticker on my computer.
All right. So while we're trying to get Armando back on here, Justin brought up a question. What if they say I need to think about it? It sounds good. I just need to sit with it. So typically, Justin, the only reason why you're getting that objection is because there's something that you're saying or not asking in the conversation that's causing them to have uncertainty in their mind that you can actually get them the results they said they wanted. That's just an objection that they're giving you because of that. Okay. So typically what I do is if you say, well, what do you need to think about? And you try to pressure them, how many of those sales go through? Zilch, like 1 out of 10 maybe. So typically what you want to do to give you a Band-Aid approach, once again, it's questions you haven't asked in that conversation that's triggered them to even give you that concern, Justin, while we're waiting on Armando. But if they come in and say that, and say, well, I need to think about it, let me sit with it. Yeah, that's not a problem. You just agree with them. That's not a problem. What's your time frame on getting back with me in the next day or two, just to see if I'd be available for you at that time? And then they're going to get back to you, Justin, and they're going to say, well, I could call you in a couple of days. Well, that's not good enough. You're not going to say that, but you're like, okay, well, what I can do, because my schedule gets pretty booked. If you have your calendar handy, I can pull up mine, and you're welcome to book a specific time with me. That way you don't have to chase me down and vice versa. Would that be appropriate? Yeah. Okay, so you booked for the next day at 2. Now, hey, Justin, before I go, just so I'm prepared, what was it that you wanted to go over in your mind so I know what questions you might have when we talk tomorrow? Instead of saying, what do you want to think about? Because that sounds weird. Now, John, before I go, and I know we're going to meet tomorrow, before I go, what was it that you wanted to go over in your mind just so I'm better prepared to go through some of your questions tomorrow? And you know what happens, Justin? 9 out of 10 times, like, well, I had a question about this, or I had a concern about this. And then you're there to help them overcome that. And then a lot of times you can just close them on that first call. Justin was asking that question, Armando, while we had the Mexican internet problem. All right. So, hey, so this has been a great interview. So I was asking you, like, when you first got learning NEPQ in our advanced training, NEPQ 2.0 and 3.0, what did you do to really soak up the material? Because you started getting results within 30 days of going through the training. Like your sales probably doubled within 30 days, and then they just kept going up from there. What were some things you did to really learn that material once you started diving into it and you started talking about your writing down questions?
Yeah, so the first thing that I did is I'm a person that is keep using a pen and paper. So I put the key questions, the key structure of the cell, and I start putting stickers on my computer, you know? So when somebody mentioned me something, I use that question for ask again, you know? So that's how I did it. I started structuring my script based more on key questions that I learned in NEPQ. And in that way, I just started learning those questions automatically. You know, if somebody answered me something, I'll ask other question.
So you knew where to go.
Yeah, so I had those questions in a sticker everywhere in my office. And in that way, my mind, my script were with a better flow. You know, it wasn't like I was reading, it was like more natural, like, what do you mean by that? So, John, let's go back to what you mentioned to before. So I had those questions structured in my script in a stickers. And in that way, everything was smooth, to be honest. I mean,
so it made the conversation natural, not like scripted where you're just reading it. You just had some stickers there that you were memorizing the questions. It's almost like you're a Hollywood actor, right? You watch George Clooney in a movie, you know, the American star, and every word he says is scripted, but it doesn't sound scripted, does it? Sounds natural. It's the same thing. So it's like you're memorizing your lines, and you do that by constant repetition. Now, before you go, because I know you got to go, any last piece of advice for anybody listening today?
Well, if you are not inside the training of your minor, get inside, don't wait for it. You need to keep learning. Even if you're a seasoned salesman, you need to keep growing and learning, you know, because the moment that you stop learning is the moment that your conversions stop, you know. So keep growing, take an advice of Jeremy, and I'm here because Jeremy really changed my life, you know. It really changed the way that I start communicating effective to my customers. And that's my best advice, you know. You need to find a good mentor like Jeremy. I mean, I know him for years. He really, really cares about you, even that it's been years. He cares about me. I really feel in that way. So you have to be in his training. You have to be in masterminds. And one thing is like keeping track. You know, always you're going to have ups and downs in sales, but you always have to show up in your calls with energy. If one call went wrong, the next call you have to have the same energy. You know, on the same day and the same day. This is a consistency key.
Yeah, you show up with certainty, and you only have certainty not by listening to motivational pump you up CDs, but you have certainty by knowing exactly what questions to ask at the right time with the right tonality in the conversations that triggers the prospect to persuade themselves and pull you in rather than you trying to push them in. It's a completely different type of income when you learn those type of skills. So Armando, you've done extremely well in the training. I wanted to congratulate you, Mr. Down Under. And dude, we got to bring you back up here to the United States sometime, my man.
I hope so.
Yeah, once COVID kind of goes away and everybody can travel, you know, whatever, we'll be having one of our next events probably this summer. So I'll keep you informed. All right.
And I want to say last thing, you know, the consumer right now is more informed than ever before. You know, you have to know that. So you have to have your training. You have to have your basic, and this make me the base of a strong, solid foundation that even with a consumer that is more informed, that is great, you have to be prepared, you have to keep growing.
Yeah, 100%. You got, a good mentor of mine, Brad Lee, we have our virtual training course through his company. They're the platform that we use. He always has a saying that I just love, and it says, is training something you did, or is training something that you do? Well, if you want to be great, if you want to be a great sales professional, you want to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, you have to continually learn more advanced skills, because if you don't, you're going to make less and less money every year. 100%. All right, Armando, you live it. I love it. Talk to you soon, man. That was great.
Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here, Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're going to help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.